beautiful Sunday or Saturday morning. I don't even know what day it is. Josh here on The Wrong Lead. Another episode of You Gotta Be Shots Hitting Me. Joined as always by Matt Carlson. Matt, I don't know what it is about this week, but I've let these songs go longer than normal for some reason. And on Drinking Champagne, we got to the saxophone solo that apparently Andrew had never heard. And so now we get to the metal part of the song.
See, it goes hard. You know, you just gotta let it run. It's
and it does that little breakdown like that. Oh, what is that? What is that emo song that it reminds me of? Oh man, I forget. I swear I'm just gonna go through my recently played and I'm gonna remember what song it is. But yeah, it's like that song is like, it's like, hey, let's put in like 3 different bands and just jam it all together, and it kind of sounds like all of them. So but I think a lot of those royalty free songs are like that, but they do a good job, man. Like I'll be honest, not to plug Epidemic Sound much. I don't I haven't signed up. Like they have like what is that thing, like where like a sign up bonus and stuff, or a referral thing, but I've never signed up for it. But if you are creating music, like they have a huge library. It's really cool. They like I'm looking for just like random ass Christmas music or something for some of our stuff, and it's just like, oh, I just searched Christmas music, and then you can just preview all of it and find it. But
stuff I don't considering I'm new to the podcasting and streaming game of the fact that if you put something on YouTube that you don't have rights to, they will shut you down, mute your video, and take your money.
So funny story. So I've been playing a lot of EAFC 24, which is the successor to FIFA. They lost the FIFA license. They didn't want to pay for it, and they just instead decided to go out and get licenses from all the individual leagues instead. So they cut FIFA out, which is kind of funny. So they lost the name, but they have obviously a licensed soundtrack, and every once in a while I'll play on Twitch, and I'm always like, why am I getting muted on Twitch? That's because of the damn licensed soundtrack. Now you can turn it off for streaming actually, but I've never done it. But it's always funny.
It's funny. One of my guilty pleasures is watching some slot streamers on Twitch, and again, not to get into the legitimacy of if those are real or not, but there's a lot of cheesy slots that are based off of music artists and things like that. Yeah. And there's always certain slots that they're like, oh, we have to play this one muted or else we're gonna get shut down. We're gonna get DMCA'd. So it's always funny to be like, oh, dude, cool, you're playing. I forget what it is. There's Kiss slots and all that and shit. So
when I first started going to Vegas, it's funny, I didn't start going till I turned 30. My wife took me for my 30th birthday, so I've been going now for going on 8 years. And when I first went, the difference in machines in just those couple of years is crazy. Like they used to spend a ton of money on those licensed artists, and you'd go play they had Rolling Stones machines, they had Britney, they had all these stuff, and then they had this weird thing where hey, let's move to movies and TV shows, and so there was The Big Bang Theory, Billions, and stuff like that. And now I almost feel like the slot machines themselves have become so, and I think a lot of it helps with the slot influencers. One of my guilty pleasures is sometimes just watching vloggers just play slots. I don't know. There's just something. There's just it's hard to describe, because watching somebody, I don't know, I almost put it akin to some I don't know, watching, it's just like a vacation vlog for the most part, but I don't know what it is. Sometimes, dude, I put one of these on and I just can't stop watching it. I don't know, but it's funny because now it's like the slot machines themselves have like their own following. Like now, if you watch any of these like YouTubers, like they're always looking for what is it, the Huff and More Puff or something, which is like some or one of the Buffalo machines or whatever, you know. And so it's just always funny how that happens. The guy who I interviewed a couple weeks back now, Tim Lawson. He is he's a podcaster, but he's very much in with like a lot of the other like Vegas and gambling podcasters and vloggers and stuff like that. And I remember him telling a story, and it was just like it was just such a great amount of degeneracy that like I was like, dude, I gotta talk to this guy. I gotta get him on the podcast. But there is I think it was Buffalo Diamond machine. And some of these machines occasionally find themselves in spots that are EV plus because of the like they have different mechanics, right? Like some of them it's like,
Yeah,
hey,
your
every
reels
10
are expanded up and
yeah,
whatnot.
exactly.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like every 10 spins you hit a bonus or something like that, right? And like so like yeah, and you'll see this all the time. You'll see like you'll be sitting in a slot machine and some guy's just like going around to all the machines just like checking them because he's looking for the plus EV situations. But he saw this like Buffalo Diamond machine that had like a certain amount of like free games if you hit the bonus. And so I'll find the podcast and I'll have it for next time just so you'd have the episode number. But it's hilarious because he basically is there for like 9 or 10 hours, and I think he said he comes out ahead like $100 or something, like because it takes that long for the bonus to finally pop. But
Yeah.
what's really funny is that he's like, I got contacted by the host the next day because they just saw that this guy was like, sitting there playing $2 press or $250 press machine for 9 hours straight. He would go to the bathroom and he had his buddy cover for him and play. Like it's just like
Yeah, I think I remember listening to the podcast. They were saying that, right? Like plus EV, like a lot of the value isn't, you expecting to get money out of the machine so much as all the comps you're accumulating and things like that, right? Which is, not to get into a huge debate about what's wrong with horse racing, but right, like none of that exists, and it's probably going the other way with that stuff, right? I can sit here, sitting here 9 hours a day playing is probably what I'm going to do with the Pegasus card that's going on today at Gulfstream, but am I going to get anything out of that? No, nobody cares, right?
No, it's right. It's funny, right? You sit here and you pump. I don't know. Let's say you run $1,000 through the window, and then I'm not saying you lose $1,000, but you churn.
You turn over, you churn
$1,000, right? You're getting a 5% rebate, 6% rebate, or something like that, right? You're getting what, 50,
if you're lucky,
back.
Yeah.
But if you do that in Las Vegas, it's a little bit more. The churn's usually a little bit higher, but
but slots have a higher like return, right? Like you're not playing a slot with an 80% ROI. You're playing, 95, 96 because they know they can, you turn money over that much faster.
Yeah.
So,
but so like let's say you churn $100,000 on horse racing. Let's say you lose 300, right? Just spitballing, whatever. You take that same $300, you churn through slots, you'll probably churn like 3,000 on slots, and like that like is enough to get you on somebody's radar. And I'm not saying like you're gonna get like tons of stuff, but like you do that at Flamingo or Link or whatever. They're going to ask you to come back, comp you a room and everything like that. Whether you want that over $50, I guess we could talk about that. That's it. And there's tons of places that talk about what the value comps is, all the other stuff. But like I don't know, it just feels better to get like a free room, even though like it's probably only costing them $30-40 or whatever
Yeah,
to put you
clearly.
up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, right? And I think, not to get too much into this before we start talking about Shot 10, but you see something like the Pegasus, which is going on right now, and right, they have like Calvin Harris there, and they're trying to make it more like Vegas almost, but they're also like charging you $100 to get in.
Yeah, if not
Uh,
more. Yeah.
Whereas like, yeah, I guess the club, like if you go to the club, they'll charge you, but if you go to the casino, you get in free because they want you to spend the money. So I don't know. I have it's it's funny with all this stuff like outside of sports betting, which I think is probably the like I'm gonna say purist in the sense that like it's just a gamble, right? Like you're just like you're betting on something, right? And there's no frills, no right. Even sports betting comps aren't all that great unless like you lose a lot, and then
Yeah.
and obviously
Then they
they'll roll
love
out
you.
the red carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Okay.
love
No.
you
Yeah.
exactly, but then like because you can just bet it and then just watch the game. And heck, even I forget which app it is, but one of the apps now, if you bet, they'll let you watch the game on the app, like an NFL game.
Hmm.
I think it might be Caesars. Maybe Caesars got a deal with them. Like you bet on the app, you can watch the game. So similar to horse racing in that perspective, but I don't know. I feel like sports betting is like, hey, like all the sports are like they're like welcoming, right? They're like, hey, yeah, sure, come bet on our stuff. Like, yeah, you have all these options. Whereas I feel like sometimes with horse racing, it seems like it really does just cater to the rich, similar to I think a little bit what's happening what's even happening in Vegas with F1 and with all this other stuff where it seems like the lower and middle end of the customer is kind of getting pushed out a little bit. I think the middle is going to be fine because I fall into that, and I mean, my comps are still the same as they are and everything, but it is. I mean, everything's just getting more expensive there. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I was reading something a while ago, right? Like Vegas makes probably 3 times as much money on one person playing $50 blackjack as they do with 5 people playing $10 blackjack, just
yep,
because of the amount of time that goes through that, right? So it
yep,
kind of turns into what like mobile games do, right? You don't care if you have 1,000 $10 customers. You care if you have one $10,000 customer because
yep.
you have that person hooked, right? It's easier for you to get money out of one person than it is, dozens of people. I feel like that's unfortunately probably where horse racing is going. And to me, right, the last place left that doesn't have that problem is Hong Kong. So
Yep.
they got
Yep.
a lot of money through these pools.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a really good point about that because like with the blackjack thing, there's another podcast I listen to. You can bet on that, and this guy like it's like a call-in show, so people call in and stuff. So this guy's telling them like, yeah, I got a buddy who plays like $500 hand blackjack. He's like he'll call ahead. He'll be like, hey, I want to play $500 hand blackjack, but I want my buddies to play with me, and I want them to play. I don't know how much they're gonna play, but like, if is it okay if they play $5 blackjack, right? Like, and they're
Yeah,
like, yeah, like we don't care, right? Because they're gonna make all their money on that one guy playing $500 a hand, right? The amount that they're gonna make off that guy, like basically just him being at the table alone, or hey, let's make him happy and have his buddies play. And so like the guys they would go there, they were playing like $10, right? And like the limits, the lowest limit I think at any other table is like 25 or something.
yeah,
So it's just like yeah, the one bigger player, very much can control everything. And I mean we see it a little bit in horse racing too with the computers. They bend over backwards for the computers. And I'm
Ooh,
not to say that they don't do that so much on at Hong Kong, but I feel like I don't know, it's just a little bit more fair. I don't
who among us hasn't looked up what it takes to become a CAW, right? Like,
know. Hmm.
what's the barrier to entry on that? Do we
Yeah,
benefit from grouping people together? I don't know. Maybe.
yeah, that's
So,
it's a good question, but yeah, and we bullshit a little bit more I think at the start of this because we kind of figured that this is even though this is a pick three, this is probably more of a pick two. uh, starting to look here at race 8, Hong Kong tonight, the Centenary Sprint Cup, and there's an absolute monster in this race. Can you pronounce the name? Because I feel like I pronounce this name different every single time,
Yeah,
and I know
I
how it's right.
I think it's Weyness.
Lucky Sweyness.
Maybe I don't know. Whatever. I'm sure listen to the actual call. I should actually listen to replays because the English announcers or the Australian announcers whose names I'm forgetting. I think Tom Wood and everyone else do a phenomenal job with that. So whatever they're pronouncing it is undoubtedly correct. But I can't remember for the life of me what that is. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah, and I just have a very, very hard time trying to get around this one. And I'm always looking to try and get around horses like this, but I mean, this horse is just so much better than anything else in this field. I mean, Wellington is a shell of himself. Now being 7 years old. Obviously has won. I believe has won a couple of Group Ones. But you know, you just look at the rest of this field, and I mean, he's got this field over a barrel. I'm not gonna sit here and try and whack like tell you I'm gonna use a different horse because I'm not. I'm singling the one. It might take most of the value out of this pick three, but there's a couple of other interesting horses I like later in the sequence, so I figured we'd at least talk about it.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean I'm with you, right? Like Wellington. If you wanted to make an argument for Wellington, right, it's third up off the break, right? Like, could it keep improving? Maybe, but it's 7 and it really didn't improve first out to second out. So why do you think it's going to suddenly, do better third out, right? Like, it doesn't have much excuses. This is a Group 1 race, so right, you don't have that, handicapping that those weight breaks, right? Like, Lucky Sweyness is running at the same exact weight that the 10, 11, 12 horses are in this race. So it's all even, but rating wise, it's much higher, right? And it doesn't get a bad draw. So really, there shouldn't be any excuse for any of this, right? So, I think it's the pick. It's the likely lone A. I'll have a very soft B just from a long shot play, probably in the 10 backing treadmill. I think the race that was 3 back kind of fits, and the horse that did win that race came back to win in Class 2. So, hey, maybe on the price, if Lucky Sweyness catches some big trouble, it can pick up some pieces. Maybe Jamie Kah's in town from Australia. I don't know why. Maybe it's because she's suspended there. And if you go on Twitter looking up why, all you get is kind of the various misogynistic posts of Jamie Kah. So I'm going to avoid that. But, hey, if you're looking for anything else, I think that's the only other place that I could, tilt my head sideways and try to go. So.
Oh man, 10 race meeting, careless riding.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like, and again, on Twitter, you get a lot of what comes along with that.
So 10 meeting ban, is that just 10 days?
I'm not sure. I don't know how often they.
Monday, January 29th, until. Oh, so she's not suspended till Monday.
Okay, fair. So I maybe this was planned, and I don't know, right? Like, I mean, was she in town or specifically ride this Group 1? She's got 7 mounts apparently on this card, so. Again, I don't know how planned ahead this was or what the reason was. I tried to look it up briefly. I couldn't find anything. So yeah, take it as you will, right? She's not experienced in Hong Kong. That could be good or bad. She's flying in. That could be good or bad. Yeah. Again, tread lightly if you look anything up on Twitter, because there's a lot of people who do not like Jamie Kah, apparently. So I found out.
Yeah, I mean, I tried looking at like the 13. Who's coming in with with some decent form, but it's all from Happy Valley.
Yeah, that's a very strong Happy Valley horse, and I really like that horse, Sun Pak Fu. But yeah, it's just a Happy Valley. I don't think it has much shot 10 form, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then the 8 on the cutback I thought was a little interesting, but has got 2 tries going this distance and hasn't really shown much in those 2 tries. Is coming in off of a group win. So Group 3, but there's just nothing in here that, like, I I have a hard time. Maybe I would take something like the 13, like underneath in the Quinella if you're getting a good price. You know, it doesn't get the weight break because obviously this is a stakes race. So right, they're all at 126. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So you know, well, do with that what you will. But yeah, I saw it. I looked at that race. I saw who was in it, and you know, I didn't really have to think too hard. I
Yep.
didn't think there. So
Just a quick move, huh?
race 9, the Yatin handicap. We're going to go on 1,600 meters here, Class 3 racing, and this I thought was an interesting race. I think the one is probably going to take a fair bit of money with getting Zach aboard. You know, it seems to have kind of improved the last two starts at 1,800 and at 1,400. Is coming back here at a distance where he had a little bit of success. Is got one win and 1 second in 4 starts. And get Zach aboard, which obviously is just you always got to look for when that happens. You know, was running in Class 2 a couple starts back. Obviously, has since dropped, and I think kind of since settling a little bit here. I mean, it is the high weight here still, but I think since settling in this class, I think this is where he wants to be. So this will probably be your favorite. Is going to be coming from off the pace. I assume this one's going to take a lot of money just because of Zach alone. But I did have 2 alternatives. Obviously, aestheticism is coming in here. Another horse that's in good form. Obviously, in Class 4, got back-to-back wins. Came into Class 3 with Zach aboard, and was favored, and kind of ran a flat 6th. You know, didn't have that same kind of kick that the horse had shown before. However, the horse also was going an extra furlong. So, you know, I don't know if that was a move to kind of like, hey, let's just get some fitness into the horse, or let's just kind of, you know, let it run, see what happens. Maybe there just wasn't a race carded that fit the horse, and they just put him in there. You know, trying to keep the weight low. I'm not really sure, but because this seems like a miler. So this horse gets back to the course type that he's you know, the A+3 course where he's shown obviously some good ability. Gets Ferraris aboard. You know, obviously loses Zach here, which was kind of why I looked at that one a lot closer, because I thought this horse is absolutely fits in here. He's getting back to what he wants to do, and you see Zach jump off. So, you know, that kind of, you know, set alarm bells off a little bit on my head, but I don't know. This horse just fits in this race really well. We'll see what kind of price we get on it. And then the last horse is the 4 Beautyverse, and this is kind of this is one I'm kind of, I think, maybe stretching a little bit for, but you know, I was trying to find, I was trying to read between the lines and find somebody that I think we'd get a price on. And this horse has bounced between class 3 and class 2. You know, two back, came back down to class 3. Doesn't have the last 2 races, just not very impressive. But if you look at this horse's last fraction, it is insane. I mean, coming home in 22.51, 22.95, and you look at the rest of the horses in here, none of them got that type of closing kick. So, you know, I think if, you know, it gets the bug back, where, you know, he ran really well at the C+3 course, 3 back in class 2, and then, you know, dropped down because obviously the ratings move a little bit, and he just kind of snuck in there. So you're gonna get him at a reasonable weight, and yeah, I don't know. I thought that with that closing kick, if he can kind of stay at least in contact with the field, I think he might be one that surprises. Maybe you just use him in your tries and Quinellas, but I don't know. I thought the four Beautyverse, getting the weight break back, kind of coming back to rail setting. I think that he kind of likes a little bit. I thought he was a little interesting in this race.
Yeah, I looked really hard at that four, and I actually watched the last couple of replays. I think I went the other way than you did, right? Like I looked at that race, on what November 5th, the race like three back. And I thought, hey, this is what happens when a horse runs at 112 pounds, right? This is what it
Mhm.
looks like, and this is what it should look like when you have massive weight breaks. And this is why weight is so important in Hong Kong racing, right? Because a horse that doesn't really do much can look great when you give up that much weight. And so now back at 126, I'm not really a huge fan. I thought the last races just looked flat. It didn't really have an excuse, right? It was drawn inside. Now it gets the 14 post. So that's, a lot stacked up against it. I didn't really like to go that direction. Um, I didn't really like, or I wanted to get around the one. I thought like you, right? This horse will take a lot of money because of Zach. And this field to me is incredibly flat, right? Anyone could go in this race. I think if you wanted to play an all, there's probably a good excuse for it. And so, you know, short of doing that, right? I can't just tell you, oh yeah, bet all and move on, especially when you have a short price in the first leg. That's probably not the best strategy. So I'm trying to find some opinions where I'm like, okay, how do I get around a short price here? Because otherwise it's just not going to pay all that much. The other horse I really didn't like, I think, was Golden Artie, or, kind of had an excuse, same sort of thing, right? Horses that ran okay, but now are picking up a lot of weight from that. The horse ran in a restricted field last time. Now it's back in open company, picking up 8 extra pounds. That's not something that you really want to see, or not something that really lends itself to the horse. It has to be a real standout to make up that. And I don't think it will here. So for all those reasons, I think I avoided those three, the 1, the 3, and the 4, and went to some lighter weight horses. I do like the 8 aestheticism for the same reasons you do. The other horse I really kind of thought had a chance in here was the 11 Flamingo Trillion. Hasn't had a win at the distance, but if you look at the last couple, right, it's been drawn poorly, right? It had the 9 post last time out against a track that really was not favoring speed at all that day. The 2 times before that, right, it was drawn in the 12 post. It finally gets a decent draw in the 5 post, right, and it's kind of maintaining that same weight. So, I thought, hey, fig wise, that last race definitely fits. Maybe it's got a shot here, and kind of keeping that low weight. Like I said, if when in doubt, bet the lowest weights with the best draws that you think have a chance. So to me, that pointed to the 11. And so I'll use the 11, the 8. A couple other horses I liked. I thought the 5. Flagship Warrior had a decent shot, right? It obviously made up a ton of ground last time into a pretty hot pace. It's dropping 3 pounds, right? It goes from the 11 draw back to the 6 draw. It's, I don't know really what it wants to do, but, squint your eyes, tilt your head sideways and say, hey, it made up a lot of ground last time. Maybe it can, do something similar here, right? If the pace breaks down or if it gets that good run. It had some excuses last time with that bad draw, I think. So drawing it back inside and getting 3 pounds back, is that enough? Maybe. So I thought I had a chance. And then the last horse I think you could really use as a huge long shot that's going to not take any money would be the 6 Accolade Start. That horse, again, same sort of thing, right? You see a horse coming from the 12 draw. It tries to, kind of gun for the lead into a fast pace. Can't really make it at 130. Kind of finishes out the back because of that, right? And so the time that horse gets, because it, kind of stops running and pulls up, looks pretty bad. It drops weight, draws from a 12 post all the way back inside to the 2 post. Maybe this horse can do something that it hasn't shown yet. And so, again, huge price there. I think you can squint and maybe say, hey, that horse can, find some pace on with a better draw here. So I'll go pretty wide. I think I'll use all 4 of those, the 11, the 8, the 5, and the 6. And, hopefully all of those will be a decent enough price. And if one of them hits, then you're looking at a decent payout in the sequence. So
Yeah, honestly, the last horse that I didn't have it marked down originally, but um, I thought I thought was interesting a little bit here is the 13 Star Mac.
yeah,
Um, you know, if you kind of look at the first two races, uh, it looked like the horses started showing some improvement. Right, they started at 6 furlongs. They went to the mile, and moved up from there. Um, but if you kind of look, it seems to kind of have some gate issues or just isn't getting out of the gate really well. And what I like is they went to Teton here. And Teton is really good out of the gate. So maybe they think that this horse just needs somebody who's going to be able to get him out clean. It's like an aqueduct when all of a sudden you see a horse that's not breaking and they get Kendrick aboard, and you're like, all right, well Kendrick knows how to get the horse out of the gate at least.
yeah,
Um, so it's still staying at a fairly low weight at 121. And obviously that last race, was out slow again, but it's that weird restricted race. So, um, you know, uh, I think this is probably going to be maybe a slightly easier field here. Um, so I thought he was a little interesting. I didn't have him in my top three, but might be one to consider underneath, or if you're feeling spicy and want to go real wide in this race.
yeah. And just a comment on that too. I think that was a horse I probably didn't have listed, but looking at it now, I think I'll add it. Those are really slow paces that it's closing into too. So again, better draw, lighter weight, chalk upgrade. Closing into slow paces. There's a lot I think you can make a case for there. That again, when you're looking for a price, you got to look at what doesn't show up on the kind of on the fig lines. So yeah, I actually think I'd add this one now that you pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his race two back, I mean, 22.42 into a slow pace. I mean, the horse was coming. That's very very good for a horse in this class. So, um, yeah.
Yeah,
Race 10, the Yao Oi handicap here. We're going to be going 1,400 meters, the old Unicorn 7 furlong race. Another Class 3 race here. And I only landed on one horse in this spot. Um, I landed on the four Fun Together, and I think everyone's going to land on the four Fun Together. This is a horse that was winning in Class 4. Figured it out, started running at that Unicorn 7 furlong distance. Won two in a row, came up to Class 3 and beat him again. So my guess is you're not going to get any type of price on this horse because he hasn't been bet the last 3 times and he's won the last 3 times. The public is going to be all over this horse. I'm trying to find an alternative. Maybe the one Tamara Blitz, gets Hugh Bowman aboard. But I don't know. I think this four is coming in with just really really great form. And has done it at this class already. So you have a couple others that like the 12 June Planet, who was is a Happy Valley horse, and then moved up to Class 3 and just got his finished 10th, which happens a lot of times with these horses. They move up in class and they just kind of get their face smacked a little bit. Where did you kind of land here?
yeah. I thought again this was one of those races, and again my probably my big flaw in horse racing sometimes is I try to get around the obvious horses, and so I thought, hey, I'm going to try and get around this four just based on the draw alone. It's drawing the 14 spot. That sucks, right? But I was against this last race too. I thought the class jump would be too much, and it proved me wrong. Right? I was like, oh, this horse was running in a lower class. It was speed favoring track. Like, there's no way this horse wins again. And again, I got my face for betting against it, but it won last out. And so I'm going to do it again. I thought that race was too slow. I didn't think it fits on figs. Now it's drawn wide, so I tried to go elsewhere. The horse to me that stands out on figs alone is the 6, a Rocky Summit. Which is which is funny because I'm going to be like, oh, I hate that speed horse drawn wide that can't race in this class. And then I go immediately to the other horse that's drawn in the 13 post that was winning in class 4 that it comes up. So, you know, again, this is me not listening to me. Welcome to my bipolar handicapping strategies. But I thought I got to try and figure out those races in class 3 did not look good. And then the races in class 4 really stand out on figs alone, right? Just from what it's been running. Did it figure something out, or is it just able to beat class 4 horses? And I'm, I guess, willing to try and bet it just based on that alone. I thought, you know, again, if just purely on speed alone, the horse should rump, but yeah, we'll see, right? But I think I have to take that over the 4, just based on the price you'll get. So I went there. Nothing else to me really stood out. So I went back to the tried and true strategy like I preached last race. When in doubt, you know, bet the lightest weight horses with the best draws. And, you know, the 2 that stand out there for very similar reasons as the 13 last race, I think the 12 June Planet could win this race too. All right, it's drawn in the 1 post. It gets Karis Teeton instead of Matthew Chadwick. It hasn't run bad at the distance, right? It's been running at Happy Valley. And so, you know, you really haven't seen what it's been doing. The first race up this year was actually on a softer track. Obviously, this won't be a softer track now, but I you know, tend to say, hey, throw that race out because maybe the horse didn't want soft. So, you know, leaves me with some questions of like, okay, well, you know, did it improve? Is this what it wants to do? Does it want to get back to that 7 furlong, you know, good ground distance? And when everything's stacked in its favor of it's, you know, running at a lightweight, it's got the best draw, it's got a jockey upgrade, I think that's a natural place to want to go. So I'm going to use the 12 as an A in June Planet along with that 6. And then just as a soft B, I think the 14, you know, same sort of thing, right? I think its first race up looked okay at 1200 at Chatin. And then last race, I think you can toss. It was drawn wide. It broke bad. They, you know, if you watch the replay, Hewitson kind of took it back from that wide gate and said, okay, well, I can't send it a lead, so I need to draw it way back. And so it was sitting in last and really just left itself way too much to do, especially into a speed favoring track. So it drops another pound, it draws back inside. I think, like anything, if you have a race where you don't know, betting the lightest weight horses is probably never a bad strategy. So probably use Forever Charm, the 14 as a B in there. And, you know, again, hopefully in those last 2 legs, get some prices and get a decent pay if it hits.
Nice. Hey, you made it.
I did. I was trying to knock off on microphone, so thank you.
In case you guys missed it, Matt's not been feeling well. Obviously, you know, it's just, I feel like trying to stay healthy this winter has been like, I don't know, man. It's been like a minefield out there. Like, I've had friends who literally have like stayed inside and then like gone to like one type of gathering or something like that, and bam, they get sick. I mean, Caleb went to like I guess he had like a ski weekend or something with some friends, and he comes back with COVID, you know, and it's like, it's tough out there. Make sure you guys you know, stay healthy, take your vitamin C or whatever you whatever you could do. I don't know, but yeah, it's I've felt like I've been getting sick for a month, and it just like it never comes. So I don't know if like I got some like either crazy immunity or if like I just got like the longest like quarter of a cold that's ever happened.
I never got sick before I had kids, so you know, once I had kids, they brought home everything. They're just germ factories. It's really true. So I love them, but anyway.
Well, that's going to do it for us. Obviously, catch us at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead. I'm at Cherry Drank. Matt is at Slow Unstudied. He'll have his full card handicap posted on Twitter at some point today, so check that out.
Did well last week. I think I hit like 8 out of 10 or something like that. So, you know, I'm back to normal this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, there we go. All right. We'll catch you guys later.
See you. Good luck.